So my next guest has inspired us with her boldness and ability to create and live her life creatively. We actually know each other from the interior design community. We started following one another on social media, and I just connected with her in a way that felt authentic. It felt real. When she would post, her social media grew crazily to the point where I think I probably launched before you, but if we had to compare to, you know, what the world is like now, social media, her platform has grown 10 times mine. And so I just love being able to connect with people who have been able to truly be in a space like social media that can be very judgy and everything is about the likes and everything is about the following, and honestly you lose sight of who the person is behind the brand.
That is true.
And so today I have the pleasure of having Tonya Searcy here. And thank you so much for being here on Midday Chardonnay.
Thank you for having me.
Of course. Of course. I couldn't think of anyone else to want to just dive into the world of entrepreneurship. Of course, I can talk about it all day long, but I just think it's important to get a different perspective. And I think that you being in the entrepreneurship space, before we dive into that completely, when you put the kids down, she has twin boys, which we will dive into, and your husband is taken care of. He's upstairs hanging out, watching a game, and your work is done, and you can have a moment to take a deep breath. What does that look like, and what did you bring for me today to kind of unwind with you with?
Sure. Today I brought a white Zinfandel. So I'm still experimenting on what I really like. I'm still a girl, so about something different today. So it's a white Zinfandel.
I appreciate that. All right, let's toast.
All right.
Thank you for bringing this.
And thank you for having me.
Of course. Cheers. That's good.
Soft, right?
That's soft.
Yeah, it's
I like
soft.
that. Yeah, white Zinfandel. Okay, I like that.
Yes.
So, you know, for me, us being in the entrepreneurship space, number one, but also being within the same industry as interior design.
Yes.
I think there's always a lot of like healthy competition along. You know, you are gaining your business. I'm gaining my business. We're all within the same local space.
Yes.
But I think in our community, we're just like all about cheerleading one another. We're all about championing one another.
Absolutely.
It's not really competition. It's really mostly like it's a healthy love for just like, oh my gosh, get the bag, girl. Like I'm so proud of you. And so when we finally met for lunch, like it was one of those things that felt just genuine. Like this is how it should always be.
Yes.
Like no one is out to get your bag or anything like that. So tell me how it was for you when you decided to say, because you're leaving, or you were in a very corporate, rigid space. So tell us about you and that whole venture of how you kind of jumped into entrepreneurship.
Thank you. So I actually was working for the federal government. I was there for 8 years, and over the course of COVID is when things kind of got stagnant. Of course, we couldn't do much, you know. So during that course of time, I actually started making pillows.
Yes.
Making pillows, and I had this.
So did you have like a manufacturer with a textile? Like were you going and picking out fabric?
Yeah, so we couldn't really go anywhere much. So I actually started with what I had at home first.
Okay.
So let me just try to perfect, you know, the craft.
Right.
So I used what I had first, which was leftover fabric from, you know, just around the house. So I started there first, and then I started posting those pillows. It was just to show what I can do. I wasn't even looking to even sell anything, you know, so. And then I started making those, started posting those. Everybody's like, look, how can we buy these? I'm like, you know,
don't take me seriously.
I'm just posting.
Yeah.
Then the requests kept coming in. So I'm like, this can be something.
Isn't that interesting how that works?
Yeah, social media is something else. You know, it really is.
And God. Yes. You'd be like, girl, just put it out there.
Right. And so I started creating more, started changing my style. I wanted to stand out from everybody else, you know. Started changing my style up, and then the requests kept coming in more. I was like, okay, look, I told my husband, this might be something serious, you know? So I started to continue to create around the house, continue to
And this is while you're working a full-time job.
Yes.
So you're doing this in the evening. kind of after your second shift, which is being a mom. So
Yes.
it really is your third shift.
Right.
It's the third shift that we call it.
Shift. And I was at home anyway because we was all, pushed home to work.
Right.
And so I'm like doing that.
So that you don't even get really
that.
a true break from the second shift.
At all. At all. And so it was hard to balance both. Like once we started going back to the office and then requests for more orders started coming in, I'm like, look, I'm trying to balance home life, work life.
Talk about it.
Starting a business, And so over time, the request for interior design started to come up. So I'm like, that was far off my radar.
You didn't think you were a designer?
No.
You were just like, I'm just trying to design pillows.
That's it,
So what was the first inquiry that you were like, girl, what?
I'm like, you really want me to do that?
Because you had posted something maybe about your house. Or was it something that you had done in your home that really kind of took off?
Yeah.
Was that it?
It was my bedroom.
Your bedroom.
My
That's
bedroom.
what it was.
Yes. It was my bedroom. It took off, hit 1.9 million views.
Yeah.
And I tell you, my consultation emails was going crazy. I'm like,
I don't even have a setup. I don't have a process flow.
Yes.
I know. That's 1.9 million.
1.9 million.
You went like viral overnight, basically.
Look,
you just posted our bedroom and it took off.
It took off.
Which is a gorgeous bedroom, by the way. It's a gorgeous bedroom, I must say. It was the perfect thing to go viral. Because as a lover of interior design,
yes,
I was like, oh, it was refreshing.
Thank you. It was so funny because men loved it too. It was that mix between him and her.
Yeah.
Yeah,
because you have a husband, and we, as designers, we have to cradle the fence of not going too feminine and not being too masculine in interior design, and we have to consider the spouse in a lot of the situations and making sure that we're never.
Thank you.
It's a hard fence to straddle when one girl is like girly and want all the blush and all the pops of gold. And the husband is like, yeah, nah.
We ain't doing that.
And I understand their perspective. They're like, no, they don't want to walk into a full-fledged flamingo pink house. And so being able to balance those two, people saw that you're able to possibly create these for other people. That's the thing about design. It's not like I could do it for myself.
Right.
But being able to do it for other people, that's the talent. That's the true talent.
It is.
So with working with the federal government and trying to build an interior design firm, especially when people are reaching out to you about, hey, I saw your bedroom online. Can you do this for me? Like, what does that look like in building out some kind of process and then saying, oh, I have to jump into creating a business? Because you were creating a business for products.
Right.
Which is very different from providing a service.
That's right.
So speak on moving from the product space of pillows and textile to now creating a service for people. And that is different because you have to show up differently for people. Because people are critical in this day and age, and they want what they want. They want good customer service. They can go to somebody else if you're not going to give it to them. Their options are endless. So what does that look like going from product to service with a full-time job?
Thank you. So for me, I asked myself, what can you do different? And so I was like, okay, take what you already create, incorporate that into a package deal for your clients. So I'm like, okay, so when I design for them, my custom pillows and curtains would be part of their package deal. So that's how I actually looked at it. It's like, how can I benefit from what I already do and incorporate it, into the plan for my clients.
Got it.
And so that's how I actually looked at it. It's like, how can I bring this in, expand it, and go from there. So that's how I actually started the interior design part of it, is taking what I already knew how to do and then bringing in the interior design part of it, which still, it's been a year now, so I'm still actually figuring it out, as I go.
Right.
But I do know that my design knowledge has grown a lot, just from reading. High Point was a big help.
Yeah.
High Point was something else, so that was good knowledge for me as well. But I'm still trying to figure it out. So I would not sit here and say I have it all together, because I don't.
Right.
You know what I mean?
No, we all don't.
Right.
Don't worry about it. We all don't have it figured out.
Right.
And the whole purpose of this is to hopefully show people that us not having it figured out and not having the perfectionist like approach to
Yes.
things doesn't mean that you couldn't have launched and not have been successful in the
Right.
space. I think everybody's waiting for that moment for everything to be perfect. And the fact that you were like, hey, I'm launching with these products, and then
Yes.
people are like, hey, but can you do this for me? Now I got to
Right.
go into service. You got to pivot.
Yes.
People are still reaching out and paying you for such service that
Yes.
you don't even have it all figured out, but
Right.
you're still providing great service to them.
Yes.
And they're still coming back.
Yes.
There's a reason why they're coming back, because you are
Absolutely.
figuring it out.
Yes.
And you're doing it ethically. You're doing it where you have them considered and in
Yes.
mind. And you know that people are spending money with you. So you
Right.
have that concept of like, people are spending money with me. And I
Yes.
have to, I don't
And
want to
that's
be,
serious.
I don't want to go viral
Right.
because I scam people, right? Like that's
Right.
like the no. Like we don't
do that.
we don't want to do that. Of
Right.
course we can't please every client.
That's
And there's
right.
going to be clients that you could do everything the right way and they still are going to find
Exactly.
something to gripe about.
Yes.
But ultimately you're putting out good work and
Mm-hmm.
good service. So how does your husband manage you being on this straight and narrow federal government, rigid, right? Like
Yes.
you've got your 9 to 5 and then you say, hey boo,
Yeah.
I think I want to go into the creative space, you know?
Yes.
And how does that conversation go? Because, you know, if you're not from that
Right.
model and your world is very traditional, and
Yes.
maybe, I don't know him, so
Right.
he could be from the element of like, no, like we work 9 to 5 and that's what it is.
Right.
Was that conversation when you brought it to him? Like, I think
Yeah.
I want to explore this creative side of me, because
Yes.
federal government is very
Yeah, like you don't leave.
like it's just a box,
Right.
There's
It
no
is.
like stepping out of that.
It's not.
And you're completely stepping out of that
Yes.
in interior design.
Yes.
It's not like you're stepping out like on a consulting business. Like this is
Exactly.
completely like you're designing and you're coming
It's
up
up and down.
You're checking with another part of your brain.
Yes.
So what did that look like for you guys to navigate this space of now going from something super rigid and traditional to something untraditional, creative space, you know, different part of the brain?
Yes.
How did you have that conversation with him? And
First-
what was his take?
Yes, I first got to say that he is awesome. You know, this guy is truly awesome. So it was all the late nights. He saw me working up, you know, doing curtains and pillows up. Some nights I didn't get any sleep before I went to my other job, you know, and trying to navigate it all. Running off for 2 hours of sleep sometimes, you know, and seeing that it wasn't slowing down. And then seeing where it was starting to I was making more.
A demand.
Yeah.
There was a demand.
Yes. So now I'm bringing in more than what my job is paying me.
Okay, talk about it.
And so when the months go by, when you see the income is surpassing,
Okay,
you
because you know they love the numbers.
Right, the numbers.
Them men love the number. What is the number?
Yes, what is
So
it?
what are we spending and how much and what are we
Yes,
doing? But when you
yes.
start bringing in money,
Right.
they're like, hold on, what are you
We're
doing?
doing what now?
What is this?
Right.
And they have no clue because people are spending money with you.
Exactly. So that's how it went. Say, okay, let's look at the months and let's see if it stays consistent. It stayed consistent.
And it stayed.
And yeah.
Okay.
And it's still going, and thank God for that. But the numbers, and then we came up with a plan. It's like, look, okay, so if you do walk, the boys, and you can go on my insurance. So like
Okay.
that worked, because gotta have the health insurance, you know.
Right.
That worked.
That is definitely something you need to consider.
Yes, yes. And so the projects kept coming in as well. And so it's like, look, he's like, I'm in support of it. If you're ready to jump, I'm with you.
What and jumping means what?
Jumping out on faith.
And quitting your federal government
Quitting my
job.
job.
You're consistent 9 to 5.
Yes.
You've been there, 8 years?
8 years, yes.
And you're like, and how long since the product to service to quitting did that look like? Like, what was the timeline?
And
It was like a year, 6 months, 3 months?
the funny
like,
thing,
when you
it
saw the numbers?
was actually only 4 months.
4 months?
4 months.
You go, girl. You go. Okay.
4 months.
4 months.
Yes.
You were like, I'm making it.
Yes.
And this is my whole salary in a
Yes.
year's time in
Yes.
4 months.
4 months. 4 months. I'm
Okay.
like, look, okay, God, you're telling me something,
Uh-huh.
you know, and even my safety with driving, you know, to work every day was something else. Getting downtown, we know downtown Atlanta can be a little sketchy. So my safety was always a concern for my mom, for him, my sister. So it's like that was one thing too. I didn't feel safe going to work. I really didn't.
Because you're going, okay, because I know where you're going into. I know exactly the area you're
Yes.
at. Parking your car,
Yes.
walking into a building.
Yes.
Also, if you're dealing with certain type of people
Yes.
that could be
'Cause I've
looking at
encountered a
you and be
lot.
like, oh, you was in the courtroom,
Yeah.
and then be waiting outside or
I've
something.
encountered a lot of so I'm
People.
like, I don't want to deal with that
Okay,
no more.
I got you.
And then the commute, and then it was getting home and only having 2 hours with the kids every night. So I'm like,
Right.
they're
Which is
only
a whole
5, they're 6 now, but they were only 5. So I'm like, this not working.
Yes.
It's not working.
Yes, and you have twin boys.
Yes.
Twin boys. So,
Yes.
okay, so you're working the federal government, and you're like, all right, 4 months in, we got to pivot,
Yep.
bringing in the same amount of income, if not more,
Yes.
in my year's salary.
Yes.
And I have twin boys.
Yep.
And what was that like when I'm thinking of from a mother being able to soothe 2 babies at once? What was like those? I know we're pivoting, but I really have like so many questions for mothers who are mothers to twins and
Yes.
triplets, more than one.
Yes.
Basically,
Right.
even if my babies are like 19 months apart, they're still 19 months apart,
Right.
right? Like even if my babies are 2 years apart, there's still a little bit of independence. No, these kids are a minute apart.
A minute
A
apart.
minute. So what was that like when you bring home 2 babies? Like you bring from the
my
hospital 2 babies
God.
home. What was that journey like? Like what do you remember, if anything? Because I know sometimes you don't remember a lot.
What I remember is being on cloud 9. I was like, my body that took forever to do this, which we will discuss later, took forever to do this, has really housed these 2 kids.
They did.
For 7.5 months. And now they're here in person in this beautiful home of ours. What am I supposed to do with these kids?
Yeah, well, how do I keep them alive?
Right, keep them alive.
Keep them alive.
Yes.
Keep them alive.
So when we got home, they spent 14 days in the NICU because, they were premature. But
And that's another thing we don't really explore is like the feelings. Like I got to chance to birth 3 whole kids. And the moment I birth them, I bring them home.
yes.
Oh
my
And
God.
so navigating, what does that look like leaving your babies that you think, because obviously you're like, you hear about people leaving their kids in the NICU, but never you
God.
think that it would happen to you. And then like, what is that feeling like of just like you're discharged, but your kids are not?
I get chills
And
just
it's
thinking
like, I
about
know,
it.
that's why
Yeah.
I'm like, what was that? I cannot imagine leaving my baby
Oh my
at the
gosh.
care of someone else. I mean, that they're professionals,
Yes.
But what is that like and 2 of them? You can't take one home. It's
Right.
like both of them. And it
Yes.
tell me.
It was hard. It was really, really hard. Like you said,
Did you
leaving
cry?
them. I did.
Yeah.
I did.
Like the first day when you're like, okay, I'm discharged, and
look,
now I gotta.
They were in Atlanta. Of course, we live way down in the country. But so leaving them in Atlanta and going all the way home, I felt empty. So empty.
The car seats are empty.
Oh my God.
What is? Oh my God.
Because it's a part of me that I'm leaving there. You
Yeah.
know? It's
that
like-
you've nurtured for like 8 months.
Yes.
Like they were in you.
Yes.
Moving around.
And being
and
home
now
without
you can't.
them.
Yeah. For 14
Gosh,
days.
for 14
And some
days.
people are in the NICU for months.
Yes.
And that is so scary and brave of you to
Yes.
go through that.
And
so-
then once we got home, we didn't know that what we were going to experience. So the youngest, it was 2 days of us being home. He actually stopped breathing. Yeah. I was looking at him. I was like, he doesn't look right. And he was gasping for air. And so
you're at the hospital seeing, he's home
He's
now.
home
So
now.
now it's like day 16. 'Cause You
Yes.
said it was like 14 days. So day
Yes.
16, you're home
Yes.
with them. And then he doesn't look like he's breathing.
Yes.
Okay.
And
Why do they do that when
I
they leave the
don't
hospital?
know.
Like, why can't they do that while they're in the hospital? Like,
right?
it will send you into orbit.
Yes.
Because
And
it's
you
like,
know,
come on.
The funny thing, that's when life got real for me. So I'm like, oh my God, I almost just lost my kid.
Right.
And
if you're not like watching that,
right.
it could be disastrous.
Yes. And it almost was.
And you're postpartum.
that C-section, like I'm still trying to
Heal.
heal. Yes. And I remember calling my husband. I was like, Eric, get in here. He came in, he grabbed him, and he had to do CPR on the coffee table to save our baby. Yeah.
CPR? He had to do CPR?
Yes. And I remember trying to get to the table. I fell. Remind you, I'm still healing from this big open wound.
You felt like you fainted, or you were just like
Trying to get to
shocked?
him,
Oh,
yeah.
get to him.
Yep. And so we found out that he had acid reflux, and and he had this overabundance of just mucus. His body just could not process all the mucus. So when we got him to the hospital, they rushed him to the ER, and this little body that had tubes, and it's just like all this mucus just coming out. I'm like,
They're little babies.
little babies. But he was sitting there gasping for air.
Oh, poor
trying to
thing.
get through the mucus.
Yeah.
But that forever changed us.
Yeah.
Because it's like, okay, we got to keep this little person alive and this other little person alive.
Right, now there's two of them to keep alive.
Yes.
Now you're focusing on him and the baby over here, like, well, what about me, boss? Like, yeah.
He had sleep apnea. We didn't know it. So
That's
it's
crazy.
something
I didn't even know they developed that early.
That was only the first time that he did it again when he came back home after being released.
Stop. You went through this twice?
Yes. And you know what saved him that time? Was the foot monitor. It called with an outlet.
Yeah.
An outlet. It went off.
And because his breathing was off or
Yeah,
something.
he wasn't breathing again.
That is so scary.
Yeah.
And to be did you go through any postpartum depression, or were you
God, for a long time.
You
like,
did?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I want
really
to say
am.
it was over a year plus.
Oh my God, it does take it. Those baby blues are
Yes.
are different.
So people ask me, "You want to have more kids?" No, because
No.
I'm glad we survived that.
Yeah,
you know?
yeah. And now you're dealing with a new set of challenges with your oldest.
Yes.
Possibly being on the spectrum.
Yes.
Not possibly, because I think you've gotten
Yes.
it tested and it is confirmed.
Yes.
So how are you navigating the world
Yes.
of being a creative,
Yeah.
raising two boys, and one being neurodivergent, one being on the
Yes.
spectrum? Because now this is this is not the one that was having sleep apnea.
Right.
Now the other one is having the way their brain functions,
Yes.
right? It's really mostly how their brain works. So how is that, and how has that been navigating like that space for you and him?
Yeah, so it's accepting what it is. You know, some people
How do you
like,
accept what it is?
Yeah, because it's like, look, we knew we had red flags. You know, of
What were
him.
those red flags for
It was-
people that don't?
Yeah, so for us it was he couldn't. I mean, yes, he's a kid, but trying to control his tantrums and throwing things and hitting himself, hurting himself,
Harming himself.
harming
Yeah.
himself. Yeah. So we were like, this is just not normal.
Was he
behavior.
verbal?
He was verbal.
Okay.
That's why we was like, maybe he's just angry.
Yeah, he's
You
just
know?
mad.
Yeah, he's just
He's mad because maybe I was focusing on the. No, I'm just kidding.
Exactly, right.
On the first kid with the sleep apnea. He's like, what
Yes.
about me?
Right.
No, that's not the case. You saw that there was something more internal happening.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And then, you know, going to school, there was issues with him and other kids constantly. And so we were like, let's take him in and see. And then doing his testing, he actually had one of those meltdowns where it was very obvious that something was off. Something was
Neurologically.
something was different. And so right now is actually first talking about it, you know, getting it diagnosed and receiving it and accepting what it is.
Okay.
Because, you know, sometimes, you know, in my family's like, you don't tell the business, you don't tell what's going on. But I'm like, but that can help somebody else.
Correct.
You know?
It's the family secrets that keep us
Yes,
down.
it does.
It's the family secrets.
It is.
My husband and I, we say that all the time. The
time.
family secrets will keep a person from progressing
Yes.
and knowing what the possibilities are out
Yes.
there. And unfortunately, if you're not talking about it, there's so many people that are also living in this darkness that it's just.
Like, it's okay to come out.
It's okay.
Yeah.
So now that you
Yeah.
have the diagnosis and you have the tools for him, how do you guys feel? How do you navigate that space with your husband, knowing that, okay, this is what it is.
Yes.
And how do we prepare and give him the tools he needs so he's successful?
Yes.
So that at the end of the day, we want our children to be, you know, working citizens of the
Yes.
world, you know, respectful, kind.
Yes.
And that people are kind to him. What is that now? Like, you have the tools. What does that look like for you and your husband? Like, what are you guys doing differently to ensure that he has everything?
It's one, patience. We're definitely learning patience with him because us getting upset when he gets upset doesn't help him.
So you don't get upset with him when
Right.
he's upset.
'Cause it's
So
gonna
what do you do?
escalate.
You like tell him to breathe through it?
Yes.
Like, are there breathing techniques or?
Yes, or either just let him get it out. Then once he's calm, talk to him about it.
Okay.
And that's one thing that therapy has taught us. You know, don't talk to him while he's upset.
Yeah.
Because I can remember anything.
It's just a wall you're hitting.
It's a wall.
Yeah.
Yes, and so we're still dealing with him getting upset and he's trying to manage his emotions. And one thing that the therapist told us that really helped us was, you have to learn how to live in his world because he's in a different world than what we're in.
Right.
You know,
He's
so
in
we-
his neural.
So we can't expect him to function the same as my other kid, our other son, when his world is different. You know?
And that's interesting, right? Because when you have multiple children, you expect your child to, this child did it this way. Why can't you do it this way?
Right.
This child knew how to tie their shoes at this age, and why can't you? You know, and I had to learn that too
Yes.
with my first and my second because they are slightly different.
Yeah.
I mean, they're two different kids.
Right.
And I felt myself telling my middle child like. Ivory was already doing this, and
Right.
she's just like, okay, well, that don't matter to me. Like,
I'm different,
I'm
right?
just not doing that, you know? And I think that's so important to not put those expectations
On the same.
child because
They
they
totally
were different people.
Yes.
And even though they're twins,
Yes.
they're that's
Totally
like the
different
most
people.
similar. Are they fraternal or identical?
They're fraternal.
Okay, so they were in their
Totally
own
different.
independent space within your womb.
Yes.
And yet still
Yes.
can be more different, right?
Absolutely.
So that's beautiful that you're able to navigate that.
Yes.
So now that you have this diagnosis, you know, you're thinking about possibly homeschooling
Yes.
next year.
Yes.
Him
Yes.
versus the other. The other one's like, no, mom, I'm an extrovert.
He's
I
like,
want to be outside.
I'm going to school."
I want to go and be outside and see my friends.
Right.
What now? Homeschooling and running a business and being a wife.
Yes.
And doing the products
Yes.
possibly continuously. And you still get up there and do all of the physical labor that comes with interior design.
Which is a lot, yeah.
Because we need to outsource.
We do.
Okay, we need to
Right.
outsource.
Yes, I received
We will
that.
talk about outsourcing. What now? What would that look like come August for you? Like August, the school year starting.
Yes.
How do you feel like you're going to be able to stretch yourself to all of the different hats we're wearing?
Yes. Well, one thing's for sure, the family life comes first. So I'm going to go more towards digital and more towards just my products instead of taking on more interior design projects. Just one way I can still work from home without having to leave as much. So it's one thing that I do have lined
Right,
up
because
is-
you have the product.
Yes.
You can sell from your home.
Yes.
Come up with cool designs
Exactly.
and really that.
Yes, yes, and that's the plan for that. And so, but my focus is to make sure that he can live his best life.
Right, because that's at the end of the day, that's what. I mean,
Yes.
we have to make sure we have the
Yes.
tools for them to be successful. Because
Because-
we've had our lives.
Of
for the most part. I
course.
mean, it's not over.
Yes.
But it's
Because you know,
we
the,
have to grant them that.
the mom guilt sets in, right?
The mom guilt.
So it's like all this time I feel like I've been working when I could have been really building him and them more. As far as, you know, so.
yeah, but you have to give yourself grace.
Yes.
You are graceful.
Right.
Dreams Home Decor.
That's where it comes
so
from.
her, you know, you have the name Graceful in your whole business.
Yes.
So you have to give yourself a little grace. You
Thank
can't.
you.
I know as moms we feel like we should have done all the
time.
things. I think at night some days I'm like, did I hug them enough? Did I kiss them
Yes.
enough?
Yes.
Was I too hard on them?
Right.
Was I too hard on one? I see how one is.
All
It's
the
just
time.
all the day. All
Yes.
day our brains are like, are we preparing them to be the best versions of themselves?
Right.
And it's a mind thing that we
It
have to get
is.
over.
It is.
But you know that you did the things you had to do in that time frame that you had to do it to
Right.
now propel you to say, because it grew your business,
Yes,
right? The
it did.
service did grow your business. You have a
Yes.
lot more people at your page.
Yes.
So now that in turn will turn into, okay, well, I'm not really doing the service, but now I got more people looking at my products.
Yes.
So it's not all wasted.
Right, you're exactly right. So,
So-
just going back to where I started, basically, you know, so it's going back to that, so I can be
product.
creative and to a product. So I'm glad to be able to have that to fall back on, you know, and so, but my main focus is making sure that they're okay, you know, going forward, because they're 6, you know,
Yeah.
And
They got
so-
so much life ahead.
so much.
And you got so much to have to figure and navigate. Okay, so what would you tell yourself 10 years ago, 15 years ago, trying to conceive these boys?
Yes.
It's not happening the way you thought it would happen.
Right.
You guys went through a long journey of trying to
Yes.
get to where you are.
Right.
What would you tell yourself, your younger self, 10 years ago? What does that conversation look like? If Tonya was sitting right here and she's 10 or 15 years younger,
Younger.
what would you tell her?
Wow. That's a good question.
I know. I'm getting you to think.
You really are. I would say it was a period in there where I kind of lost faith. So I would say if I would have just kept my faith and held on a little longer and tried a little harder, the kids probably would be much older now. They would have, it would have happened sooner.
You
But,
think that keeping the faith would have allowed you to conceive sooner?
Yeah, because it got to a point where I said, I don't want to do it again. I
So
don't
when
wanna
you
try.
surrender,
Yeah.
then it happens.
Yes.
Surrender.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, because we want things to happen in our time. And like then, 10 years ago, it's like I wasn't even in the financial place or even in the, in the home that we're in now to even have the space to even raise kids, I mean, it could have worked, but
did
not
you
comfortably? Yeah. So it's always in God's timing for sure.
So you would tell yourself,
be patient.
Be patient.
Have more faith.
Have more faith. And when you start losing it, just know that it's sweeter on the other side.
That's right.
Isn't it sweeter?
Yes, it is.
And you have your boys, you have your husband, you have your successful business.
Yes.
And you still have so many ways of expanding yourself. You don't have to be in this space. You can decide that you want to do something else.
Yes.
Because that's the beauty about life.
It
it's
is.
You can just wake up today and be like, I want to just be a florist.
Right.
Let me go learn how to put flower arrangements together.
It can happen.
Because you're over here hanging wallpaper.
Yes.
And putting trim on the wall.
Yes.
She got her legit, we literally bond over what tools we have.
Yes.
And we bond over, just all the techniques that goes into interior design because we are kind of perfectionists.
Yes.
And we can leave it to other people to do the job, but why?
Right. If
we can do it ourselves. Right. And then we come home sore, aching.
Can't walk
up the stairs, but we did it ourselves.
Yeah.
It was good. It was good. It looks good. Because we did it.
Yes.
So I love that you've been able to kind of pivot, and I know you will continue to pivot.
Yes.
But I just wanted to really thank you for being vulnerable and sharing your story, especially navigating the different spaces. Like I said, we all fall within a pillar. Some of us overlap, and you're in the woman space.
Oh my God,
you're in the wife space and the mother space,
Yes.
and being able to balance it all
Yes.
feels like it's just a juggling act.
It really
we're at Universal
is.
Soul Circus, and
Right.
we're just trying to keep all the plates spinning.
Yes.
But you're doing it gracefully.
Thank you. And likewise.
Thank you.
You are too.
I appreciate you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you for being here.
Of course. Thanks for having me.
Of course. That is Midday Chardonnay with Janelle J. Thank you.
Thank you as well.
Of course.